Let's see. All right. I thought for sure the election thing was going to jam up all the internet, but ladies and gentlemen, we're live. Welcome to Keyboard Warriors Fight Island. My name's Eddie Law with the one and only. This man, you may not have heard of him, but you will hear of him soon. The star of Cageside Press, the way I see it, Mr. Gabriel Gonzales. How you doing, sir?
Hey, thank you. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, Eddie, and I appreciate the invitation. It took long enough for me to get here.
Dude, you guys don't know. You're looking at the next, I don't even, whatever name you want to throw out there. This man was on Fight Island for 254. Most of us were trying to get people together to watch 254, so we didn't have to pay the $80, whatever it was, pay-per-view. And this dude was outside, like right at the building. So that is a crazy story. But as everybody knows, this is the show where we talk to any MMA media, and we start off from the beginning, and we work our way to the top. So how did you get started with MMA media?
I think like a lot of people, I started as a fan. So I think the big thing is that I did not originally want to be part of the media or on TV or anything like that. I had other dreams when I was a little younger. And it wasn't until about toward the end of college, which was about 7 years ago. That's when I really started, like, hey, exploring, like, hey, being on camera as a career. And about that time, I was like, well, how can it come together? And that's where I was like, well, I didn't want to be on the news, like traditional, doing traffic and at a station. But I saw, I loved MMA. I was a fan of it for a long time since I was a teenager. And I saw, a bunch of reporters doing it and, not just like at the events and doing interviews, but going out to the gyms and all that. And, this is at a time YouTube was really, really taking off. And it's like, oh, this is this is a job. Like, this is a thing people do. And so that's where it really came together. And in terms of actually like working for a site and doing other stuff, probably about 2015, 2016. And then, yeah, in the last 3 years, that's where really my video presence kind of took off with YouTube and a lot of the other outlets you've probably seen me do, working with.
No, and that's kind of wild to see like the start of everybody, but like because everyone talks about I was a fan, like I started watching back when UFC 1 or I've got some honest ones too where they're like I started watching it 189 with McGregor and Mendez and all sorts of stuff. So what was your first event that you got to see?
Good question. So at the time I'd been training martial arts and, they put you with a guy who's about your size. So, kind of comparable, right? You got someone who can push back with you and work with you. And name was Mike. I don't talk to him anymore, but I give him the credit. He was the biggest Chuck Liddell fan. Yeah. And at the time, Chuck was going to fight Rampage. I want to say it was like 68 or something like that. One of those. If you remember, Chuck lost. And Rampage got him in the first round, but he'd been just hitting me with it like, oh, you got to see it, it's exciting. He was really pumped for it. And I was doing nothing on a Saturday and I was like, well, just where is it? Find the video somewhere. I did. I thought it was the coolest thing. And next thing you know, you're aware of it when it comes back on TV. And next thing you know, you're watching George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva, who are two of my all-time favorites. And like I got bit by the bug and just what can I say? I've liked it ever since. Before I was media, that was like my thing, right? It's like when you get away from the grind, well, watch UFC stuff and all that. And what can I, it was, probably remember this, like when you see someone with a tap out shirt and it's like an inside secret, those days, that's when I, really got into it. So a couple years before Fox and all that.
Gotcha. So that's interesting. So what martial art did you train, and do you still train?
No. So I was at a traditional school. They did a form of kung fu they call sansu. So a lot of practical self-defense. We did a couple seminars and stuff like that. So it wasn't always locked into your traditional the kata, your Karate Kid, and all that stuff. We did a lot of practical, real world situations too. But then through that, they started bringing in kickboxing during the week. I did that. They brought in jiu-jitsu every now and then, a little more rare, but so we did a lot of that stuff. It was a blend of a lot of different things. So it's not like it was just karate 7 days a week.
Right. Nice little mix. So you ever get into jiu-jitsu?
No, I just, you know what? If I had done it more consistently, it probably would have clicked. But I just, at the time, like you still got school 5 days a week, and I
Yeah.
wasn't going to every single thing. So it was just one of those things that I didn't do it enough to get into it. But I'm aware how important it is. Like, trust me, I get that. I
Oh,
got that. It wasn't
yeah.
like, oh, grappling sucks. Nothing like that.
Sure, I'm not. You better man than me. I started off in Muay Thai, and so I was just like, I would watch the jiu-jitsu guys and the wrestlers, and I'm like, nah, not for me. And then, I ended up getting into it, and I've been jiu-jitsu for like 5 years, and I can't believe I even thought that was like, nah, not for me. No, so I hear that. Couple guys in the comment section here. Jesse says, "What's good? What's going on?"
What's up, Jesse?
Frederick hanging out with us tonight, and then Gabriel's the best dressed media guy, all pro. Hey, I went to because I've covered a few myself. I covered Invicta in Houston back when Michelle Waterson lost the belt to Erika Tiburcio, I think.
Yep.
And I remember going in there. I'm like button up, tie, slacks. I was clean, dude. I was clean. I go and I sat down. Dude to my right is wearing shorts and a tap out shirt, and dude to my left is wearing some stinky ass like sweats and some old ass shirt. I had a graphic on it. I still don't remember. I don't recognize it. Had holes in it. I'm like, how did you guys get into the media section? Like, do you still see that kind of? I mean, maybe not with the UFC, but like, do you still see that kind of thing?
Oh, trust me, you still see a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
The UFC not as much. They are, they do have multiple people who look at you to say, it's like, yeah, we have embedded coming through. You're not walking in here like that. But yeah, so one promotion that I work with here in Southern California, Smash Global, where it's black tie, and literally it's branded black tie. Like women in fancy dresses, you got to be in preferably like a tux, but at least a suit. And I swear I still see guys coming in with hoodie and jeans, and it's like did they not? Some people, it's just not their. I know not their thing, but they just don't care. And mind you, you know what? If you could get away with it, by all means, you do you. But to me, I feel like, look, first step to taking yourself seriously is dressing the part, and I appreciate that. But I will say this now: like, if you ever see like Mac Life, that he doesn't get on camera as much, but he dresses up. And guys like the Schmo, they got like a whole custom wardrobe. So I appreciate that you like my style, but I am aware, I'm fancy on a budget. Those guys, they got the good stuff going on. I'll admit that.
Oh, you'll get there, dude. You'll get there. John Morgan's still strong with the blue golf tee.
I didn't want to go for the low hanging fruit.
I got you. That's the thing, though, is you gotta. I would say that about John, except like I'm sure he'd be super uncomfortable in like a suit, like and like it gets hot in there and all that. So, all right, so let's moving up. So now you're with Cageside Press. All right, so let's back up a little bit. How did what was the first publication you got with?
MMA or before that?
Well, before that, what'd you cover?
All right. So I had done in Southern California a workshop probably about 2014, and the guy there was eventually one of the guys I met there. He started working with Fansided, not the big one, but one of their. They have a whole network of like hundreds of little fan sites, right? Not just the big ones on bigfansided.com.
Right.
He started running the one for LA Sports, and so I started. He reached out to me because we'd gotten to know each other. And I was there, and I'd help them write a lot about basketball. There wasn't a lot of MMA to write about Southern California wise, because, if it's not UFC, it's kind of hard to find from remotely local show info. You would have to travel and all that. So I wasn't doing all that yet, but I was there for a bit. He kind of transitioned out, and then I started working with another fan-sided website doing just basketball. And then eventually, I knew I wanted to do MMA. It's just I didn't have an in. I had an in at the other two. And, well, pretty much I just kind of made that leap. I did the cold reach out. Hey, I'm with the other fan-sided site for basketball, but MMA is my thing. Can I write for you guys? That was Cage Pages, where I got it introduced with Danny and Jay and several of the other guys who are still with us now. Obviously, long story short, things kind of fell apart at Cage Pages, and a lot of the guys there who run Cageside Press, they branched out to do their own thing, and later on I joined them after the fact.
Gotcha. I remember the Cage Pages days, man. That's right. I was there too for a little bit,
Yeah,
and
you remember then.
I remember that, and I remember the way most guys exited. So it's all good though. We're in a much better place, and so just to make it clear for everybody, just disclosure and all that. I am also part of Cageside Press, just like Gabe, and this is how I got to know this rising star in MMA media for sure. But all right, so let's now that you're with Cageside Press, you started covering UFC events. Like,
Yep.
did that make you think like, oh wow, okay, I'm no longer covering just local stuff. Now I'm covering like the big show. Like, did that make like, what did that make you feel like? You know what I mean?
I mean, I think for me, it was just that it was a weird thing because at the time, I don't think a lot of people may even realize it, but the year before I did my first UFC, I was at so many. I did a little bit of everything. I'd done LFA, I'd covered amateur shows in San Diego, I'd done a bunch of Bellator, I'd done PFL. So at the time, I kind of felt like if I'm not getting the UFC credential, it's like, what am I doing? So I would say I kind of had that point. And at the time, we were getting the UFC credentials, but it was only for the smaller shows, which for people who aren't aware of is that if you're not jumping in, if you don't already have this brand that gets you automatic UFC pay-per-view event credentials, most sites, if you're going to get there, you tend to start out covering smaller shows that, let's be honest, Ariel Helwani and the other guys, pre-COVID, weren't exactly getting out to every week. So that was a big part of it. And it was like, if I want to cover my first UFC, I would have had to travel and all this and that. That just wasn't in the budget. To me, it's just, I could not justify putting all that investment out there to cover the smaller show, is somewhere else. So to me, I had to be patient, and I was like, look, I do believe we're going to get the credentials for a bigger event, and I do believe the work I've put in is going to justify me covering a big card for us for Cageside Press. So by the time I did get to UFC, my first one was actually just last year at 239, John Jones, Thiago Santos.
Right.
I will say this: to get there did feel like a graduation because you do like, quite honestly, you do the smaller shows, and yes, there are still a lot of big reporters and big websites who do cover the Bellators and all that. But when you see the difference of the people at a UFC event, you could tell you have a lot of big name people with a lot of reach, and maybe they work for a TV channel or another bigger website. They never even touch Bellator because the UFC is such a big machine to cover already. So to be in that group really was the big jumping off point because, like I said, I didn't get there automatically. I was covering so many smaller shows leading up to it that it was like, hey, if not now, when? But to actually be there, it was a big deal. And yeah, like you remembered the first time, and it's like you're aware of how many people apply for UFC credentials and don't get it and never get it. And so I was aware of all of that when I did finally get there.
Gotcha. And so before we get to 254, you're talking about traveling. Do you travel? I mean, it seems like you get around a lot, like in California. Do you travel to any of the other places, like besides Vegas?
I can't say I do. And for the simple fact that so much stuff comes through Southern California, I mean, the UFC always comes at least once or twice a year to either the Staples Center in Los Angeles or Honda Center, both of which you could get to very easily. People go to Disneyland multiple times a week if they can, which is the same area. So, I don't travel as much, and then that's not including the Bellators that come through, some of the smaller shows that are on local TV here that I'll occasionally cover. So, would I like to be, closer to a bunch of stuff? Obviously, I think everyone would, but so much stuff pre-COVID came through Southern California that, it's kind of like, look, just be patient, do your thing. Your numbers coming back up soon anyway. And, on top of that, getting to Vegas has gotten a little easier. So, if I really feeling that itch or really want to get out there and do one, it's not a stretch to be like, hey, I'm going to go cover one of the UFCs that they bring through there as well.
Oh, Kairos in the comment section hitting one of the ones that I already want to talk about. Uriah Hall completely overreacted when you were interviewing him. Let's skip to that just real quick before we get back to 254. What happened there exactly?
You know what? So here's the thing. The place where I stayed at, I'm going to give him a small benefit of the doubt. I wasn't aware. I can hear myself fine because I'm
Mhm.
talking. I don't know if he's hearing all the words if I have a bad connection on the call. So I wasn't aware of that. But to me, the thing about Uriah Hall is, he immediately kind of starts that, and it made me uncomfortable because I'm there to do a job too. But at the end of the day, look, you'd be a professional. I didn't appreciate it, but look, I'm there to do a job. He's there to do a job. At the end of the day, he's the A side. He's the fighter. I'm calling in. So, if he didn't like it, I'll be honest. I think the big thing is he treated everybody like that. So,
Mhm.
you know, could I take it personal? I mean, I kind of do, but I think literally everybody. I was listening to DC and Helwani, and Ariel's bringing it up on ESPN saying he was like that to everybody. So, that's his prerogative, and whatever.
That
That's
was
your call,
wild,
dude.
dude. That
I'm
was
working
wild.
too, man, but okay.
No, that was wild though, because like I was like, man, that's my boy. You can't talk to my boy like that. But it's like, you know what I mean? I got kind of I got kind of I was bugged by it too. I was like, dude, that's some bullshit. But fair enough. But you're right. You be professional about it. You do your job, and whatever he. At least it was like on video, and everyone got to see it the way it went down, and so everyone could be like, all right, look, that's how it went. Like, and you don't have to. There's no he said he said thing. So that worked out. All right.
Yeah.
So
I'll say this too, real quick on that note. It's like I'm aware that that is not the first time something. That's not the last time something's probably going to happen. So it's like, I mean, that wasn't fun, but I'm gonna get over it. I'm over it. I'm aware that that's gonna happen again eventually for some reason or another. So, if you sign up for it, you kind of got to be aware, like, hey, this stuff happens when you're talking to so many people for the job.
right, and Kairos chiming in says 2 to 35 acting like a juvenile over what the quality of a call. Dude is so emotional and been emotional his entire UFC career. Agreed. That's just Uriah Hall at that point. That's the kind of dude he is. All right, so fast. I guess backtrack now.
Sure.
You get the call. You got 254 credentials, like you said. This is before we started the show. You said this is one of those things that you can tell your grandkids about. Like I was on Yas Island. I was on Fight Island during this, like, because this whole COVID era is gonna be in our kids' social studies books and history classes forever. We're living it right now. You got to be part of something that is almost mythical, right? Fight Island. Like when we heard about what Fight Island was gonna be, Dana White says, "Oh, I have an island. I'm gonna call it Fight Island." We're all just like, "Oh, that sounds like some some what's a blood sport kind of thing." You know what I mean? We're gonna have a kumite. This is crazy. So you get the call. You're in for 254. Not only is it Fight Island, it's a long ass flight away, but it's also Habib versus Justin Gaethje. A car we all went to see Habib fight again. So first of all, let's start from the beginning because the wildest part to me is not. I mean, okay, and maybe just getting there. The flight. How was the flight? How did you make that work?
You know what? So I'm not a frequent flyer. So to me, I kind of went in, I downloaded a bunch of stuff to my phone to like, okay, like I know they're gonna have in-flight entertainment, but I still wanted my stuff just in case, in the event I don't like anything. I'll say this: they flew us Etihad Airways, big old like couple hundred people jet. It's not a small plane.
Damn.
It's a big plane with a lot of, not horsepower. You're talking about the Pegasus, carrying that thing. So like I remember just it felt like we'd barely been on there an hour, and they're saying, "Oh, you're over Colorado," and I'm like, I know we are not going. I know a typical plane in New York doesn't get there that fast, right?
No.
It was crazy. What's the way there was much easier and I could get into that because the way back was another. That felt like a mission, but the way there was easy because you had all the seats open. Like it was me, another reporter, and then like 8-9 rows are empty. So like I had the window. I had like 3 seats to myself. Just lift up all the armrests, and you chill. I did not really sleep. I tried. I got like maybe 2 hours out of 16. So I'll be honest, it's like being in a waiting room all day. You kind of just lose your mind and you find it again. You kind of have an out of body experience. It's like you're in a dream. It's just a long dream. You kind of distract yourself. Let me watch this, listen to that, look at this, close my eyes, couple minutes. And you just lather, rinse, repeat. And, eventually it's over. The real trip though is that you get there, and so we left 6 in the morning, Las Vegas. We get there 9 a.m. Abu Dhabi. So, I've been up like how many hours?
Right.
And but mind you, got up at 2. I got up at 2. You leave the hotel at 3 on the shuttle. By the time it all comes together, your body messes with you because you should be exhausted, but it's early morning, so your body is saying at the same time, no, wait, it's time to get to work. And so that's that was very hard, if I'm being honest. It was hard to get my body to calm down, because it's like, you feel like you should be getting up, and you have to tell yourself, no, it's the middle of the night in USA too. This isn't, you should be asleep right now.
No, that's wild. So you get there, you land. What's the first thing you do?
So you get there. First off, UFC, they do not joke about safety, and if there's one thing, is that getting in everywhere, going to different places, you're all temperature checked, but immediately there's first off, it's all fighters and UFC staff at our terminal. So once we get out there, there's no tourists. There might have been one or two, but for the most part, there's no outside thing. The bubble is secure. You get on a bus, and immediately they drop us off at our hotel. The fighters went to a different one, and I could get into that later. But they drop us off at our hotel. Immediately, they tell us straight through that door. Straight through that door, the chair. You do the COVID test. You can choose, but nearly 100% of people take the throat swab, because the nose is just. I heard it's a trip. I haven't done it. But immediately that, and then they say, okay, take your bags. Go to your room. They give you the room number, and they do tell us that there's they do monitor it, like if you leave your room. So but they tell you stay in here 48 hours. Even like when you get tested during that time, they came to me. They came to my room. They didn't have me go to the lobby. Right. So that's another added level of security. But yeah, the only time your room door opens is to pick up a room service that they leave outside the door.
So you were in the room for quite a bit.
Yep.
No kidding. That's
48 hours. Yeah, pretty much straight up 48. So I got the release that said I could leave about 10 a.m. Monday local time. So I think I got there about 9 a.m. Saturday. So
gotcha.
Tracks.
Damn. So 2 days of quarantine, and then they let you out. Yep. So after that, what are you doing? Just interviews and just the regular media stuff?
What's cool is that stuff didn't really start until the next day. So pretty much I get a free day. Yeah, pretty much you get that. And here's the weird thing, is that you're trying to adjust, because you're aware that the fight is going to take place virtually overnight local time. But they schedule all the media stuff during the day, Abu Dhabi. So it's like, well, I'm going to sleep all day and, stay up all night, so I'm, quote, on time. Nah, they're telling you, like, 10, 12 a.m. media day, local Abu Dhabi time. So it's like, so you just kind of go into it knowing that your Friday to Saturday and Saturday to Sunday is going to be thrown for a loop. So I hit the beach for a little bit. The other reporters were there. All the fighters who just got there were there. So Eric Anders, Jared Cannonier, Lauren Murphy's around, and you're seeing a bunch of other, like, the UFC people. So you'd see like Megan O'Leary there. You'd see a bunch of other people around, the other reporters. So I did a bit of that. You just kind of get out of the room a bit. So the whole bubble. So here's something that I found, when people ask, well, what surprised you the most? It's actually a lot bigger than you expect. You keep hearing the bubble. Yeah. I'm not saying I expected Khabib to sit at my table because there was no room, but I did expect to run into a lot more people. Honestly, it was so big, the whole trip, I really just had my space. There was never any like, oh, well, there's only so many places to go. I'd go to the restaurant, it's pretty much empty. I'd go here and there, and these other places outside to do my work outside the room. There was nobody there. And so it would just be like, well, I don't know where they're all hanging out if they're at the beach all day, but the fight island's actually pretty big, and so you kind of get your space. And then I'll be honest, that's on our side. The fighter
Mm-hmm.
hotel, it's its own mini resort on the other side of the bubble, and they have a nicer hotel and a couple more amenities there, their training rooms. So it's very rare that you're gonna see, on your around your hotel, just like Justin Gaethje walking around.
Gotcha. So you only ran into him in the beach then. That's kind of where everyone connected.
Yeah, and even then, fighters would be only be there briefly. I mean, if you have
Yeah.
a fight, it's like you're not there to get some sun. They're probably in the
Right.
room and doing their other stuff.
Gotcha. My friend Drew from BTS says, "What program does Gabriel work for?" It's Cageside Press, right?
Yep.
So yeah, but soon enough, I expect you to be at ESPN at some point, dude, or something like that.
Thank
You
you.
you're working way too hard, dog. Like with that level of work, man, you better. I know you're gonna get there. I believe it.
I
Cairo
appreciate that.
says, "Oh, for sure, man." Cairo says that did you have gear that was heavy enough to receive a press discount on luggage?
So, cool thing about that is that the UFC did cover the flight on all
That's
that because
dope.
they charter it, right? So it's
Hmm.
not like you can just buy. I can't just go on the website and buy this ticket Vegas to
Right.
Abu Dhabi. So and I think some people might have questions about that, but the fact is, it's like, okay, if they're doing everything chartered, this is how it would work anyway. And so I got that, and so yeah, they covered it. So I was able to take all my equipment, and there was no issue. I was able to pack for the week, enough clothes, take everything I need to do all my fight week stuff. And yeah, there was never any worry that I would not have enough, that I would reach a limit on my luggage and I'd have to pay extra to get everything there.
Mhm.
And I'll say this, there were people who brought way more. They used bigger cameras or different equipment than me, and they were fine also. So I was never worried about that. Good
Gotcha.
question.
Yeah, I know that's a good one. I didn't think about that one. Yeah. So, all right. So come media day, right?
Yep.
And obviously, like I said, it's early in the morning, so you're just like, hey, no time, no time to stop. Got to keep grinding.
hmm
How did that work? Because I know they're taking safety precautions. Everyone was kind of far apart, doing the 6 feet plus thing and everything. How did that work out for you?
So what's weird is that I will say that because there's so much more extensive testing, if you get to the point where you are at media day, they are very confident that you do not have COVID. Now,
Mm.
obviously, anything can happen. That is very true. But when you think about the fact that we got tested the Thursday before I got there,
Mhm.
in Vegas, or sorry, Wednesday night. I get tested again when I get there Saturday morning. I get tested again Sunday. Technically, and then after that, you get tested every other day. So I believe I got tested Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday morning,
I'm
something along
kidding.
those lines.
Mm.
Yeah, they are very confident. So the actual media room, you do get to sit a lot, a little more typical. Like
Mhm.
you're not in a scrum, just crammed next to each other, but you are, a little closer at the tables, and people just feel more free and relaxed to get close to each other. So there is that by the time you get to that point, and just like anything else, it's kind of set up like a semi press conference. So rather, usual scrum, fighters here in front of you, you're
Mhm.
about 5 feet away. You've got all the microphones on the stand in between you guys. This way, the fighters at a table, the microphones are there, but we're all a couple feet back at our own stations. So there is some social distancing, but yeah, it's a little closer than you'd expect. It's not like we're out on our own island in a remote microphone all the way across the room.
Right. So you definitely didn't have COVID. Didn't have COVID because you got tested
No.
for every. That's crazy. How many tests they made you
Yes.
do? Did you run it into Dana White at all?
No, not like personally. Obviously, you see
Okay.
him, around, and he's at the weigh-ins and he's at the
Mhm.
press conference. But no, it's not like I'm, out for dinner and there's Dana
Right.
on the other side. No, nothing like that. Plus,
Right.
he's one of those guys who probably, I don't know if he stayed in the bubble, but I think he had his own private little house a little outside the limit.
Shoot, all the money he's making and he's made from the UFC. I
Yeah.
bet he's got a house over there.
I mean, you
Um,
guys watch that looking forward to a fight. They
yeah,
they they get out when you're Dana.
right. And plus he gets tested like hourly, it seems sometimes. All right. So then we get past me today, weigh-ins.
Sure.
Now here's what everybody was talking about when it came to the weigh-ins. Like you were there. to see Habib weigh in. Why was that so weird with the guy looking at the scale? Now, anyone that knows, and I know you know, they have a scale on the back, right? You go there, you check first, and you decide, all right, I'm gonna go get weigh in, either miss and get some extra time, or I'm in and I'm done, right? So that really didn't surprise anybody. I think Darren Wynn, one of DC's teammates, got on Twitter and started throwing it at everybody because everyone was freaking out. Well, how did you see Habib up there? Because he looked relieved, like there was an issue.
You know what? I think that you could tell because before he got up there, you can hear him. I'll be honest, I didn't have an up close vantage point, so I'll be honest, I didn't see the real level of the controversy until the video.
Right.
So I think a lot of people, as far back as I was, we weren't really like registering. Oh man, I think Habib might have, he might have pulled one over possibly. I didn't get that at all. What I will say is that when he came out, you hear him like towel and you could automatically tell, oh, this one came close, right? And obviously, you could see his expression. What I will say was, quote unquote, crazy was that with the towel and everything, I did feel like the official did get that weight rather quickly. Whereas I feel like in those situations, he's just kind of tapping that scale a little more. You know what I mean? So when the fact that it happened a little smoothly, I was like, oh, okay, but at the time, in the moment, I was just like, all right, he just made it. Hands were up. He's not touching the towel.
The DC trick.
Yeah. So I was like, he's good. I think we were all looking to see if he was gonna, we've seen it by now, lean on somebody, touch it a bit. There was none of that. So I was like, okay. So it's not till I saw the video that I was like,
Yeah, and to be fair, that the dude taking the weights was kind of moving kind of quick for everybody, but when it came to him, it was just like, he gets on the scale, the lever starts going up, and he's like, okay, good, 155. Like, even because I was watching online, I'm just like, and obviously because you were far back and I had the video, I'm just like, okay,
check it again.
Yeah, the media there, did you guys talk to each other? Like, hey, like, did you guys see that? Was that weird? Like, did you guys talk to each other about it?
Like I said, because we're, I'll be honest, like at that point, you're doing so much because people are trying to get their stuff out. So I wasn't in contact with the people who were like, probably like the John Morgans and all that. I want to say they were 2 or 3 rows ahead of me. I was kind of back more with the camera. So I didn't converse with the guys who probably had a better vantage point who could speak to that. So I'll say this, for me, I did not get an idea where I was at that we felt that there was some extreme fishiness going on. From my perspective.
Got it. Yeah, no, a lot of people immediately, I mean, you know how MMA Twitter is, man. They lost their minds on that immediately. Oh, he missed weight, yada, all this stuff. So, all right. So we get through weigh-ins, you get to sleep, whatever.
So what's weird is that, okay, so you're aware of it because they do weigh-ins early Friday morning. We don't leave the shuttle from the hotel probably till about, was it 5 p.m., 6 p.m., something like that. Right. And here's the thing is that if you're at a typical UFC, it is a first come, first serve kind of deal. Yes, John Morgan tends to be near the front, which lends to his, first question reputation, right? But, most of the time you have to be there hours before. But with the nice thing is the shuttle, we get there just maybe a little change, less than an hour to set up because there's so few people and it's assigned seating. So I just pretty much, I tried to sleep in. I did one interview fight morning. I went back to the hotel. I tried to crash. I got about a 2-hour nap because I did know we were going to be going late. But yeah, we don't get there till about 6 p.m., at least an hour before the first fight, which I think was 7 p.m. local time. So I will say that was a little weird because we're used to being there midday and things get rolling. I will say, because everyone's talking about that, the time change. I've done big events, Bellator, UFC, where it, like just from probably about 12 hours straight, you get there 12 a.m., get your spot in line. We're not done till midnight, 1 a.m. after you've uploaded all your press conferences and all that. The Fight Island thing did not feel as harsh. I'll be honest. It actually felt, maybe it was adrenaline, all the stuff going on, but I actually felt like it was not that bad personally. I got through it and I was like, I mean, if this lasted another hour and a half, I'd be fine. Like
Okay.
that's how good I felt, all things considered. But yeah, you get there, and yeah, what's nice is that obviously it's the big one, and everyone's there and ready. And yeah, with assigned seating, it's actually a lot smoother. You just kind of do your thing. They had food, they had drinks, and what's weird, or not weird, but what's nice is, unlike a lot of other ones where you just go, pick up your food at the table. That's like a little attendant that's passing you the
Okay.
stuff out of the warmer. So it's like, it's kind of nice. It's kind of a little catered. So it's just a pleasant experience for work.
There you go. So that's probably like the best experience you've had so far in your career.
I think, yeah. I mean, you put it all together, it's kind of hard to top it. What I'll say this is that when I talk about, for example, last year, in the span of 3 or 4 days, I do MMA awards, my first official UFC media day, the Hall of Fame, and then fight night, and it's a crazy one. You got Masvidal knocking guys out in 5 seconds. It's kind of hard to top having all that happen for your first ever UFC fight week.
Right.
But that being said, when you put it all together, it's so crazy. It feels like a dream, because it's like, I get home and I'm looking at the pictures and I'm like, did that happen? Like, I know it happened. I know I was there, but it's like, it doesn't hit you like you flew 16 hours and you're 8,000 miles around the world in the Middle East in this closed bubble and all this other stuff, the Fight Island, and they do the documentary and all this stuff.
Yeah.
That kind of is hard to wrap your mind around when you get home. But yeah, for sure, when I look at it and the way we were treated, the hospitality, it lived up to the hype and then some. I know everyone's saying that, but no, like, they're not paid. They're not like legit. Everyone was nice to us. Everyone, everything you needed. You know what? I shut this guy out. His name's Muhammad. He's working with the production team over there in Abu Dhabi. He was part of the guys with the crew there. One of the things about Fight Island, high-speed internet, wireless internet is a premium. You talk about, air conditioning. No, it's high-speed internet. The internet there, that was about the one thing they did not have quick. So you notice a lot of the people with experience, they brought the adapter to connect your 2020 laptop straight to the Ethernet cable, which was something they were doing. I did not have that. So my first few days, my stuff is taking hours to go, and I can't do anything about it. That's like, I got a relatively new laptop. It doesn't have regular USB ports anymore, for crying out loud. This guy, Muhammad, he probably found the only Ethernet to USB-C adapter that is somehow floating around the bubble to be there for me on fight night. That is just how we were treated, the generosity. I'm aware that there was probably a headache to find it. He never gave me that impression. He came through like the real MVP. So
there you go.
I gotta say that, like, that is how they helped you on Fight Island. So I can't say good enough things about the locals, the people I met there, for sure.
No, that's pretty dope, man. So, all right, so you get through fight night and everything. Did you get to watch the Habib fight?
What do you mean?
Like,
The
did you get to
pre-fight?
the Habib fight, the actual?
Oh, the Habib fight. The Habib fight. Sorry. You know what? Yes. So what's cool? They hold everybody. It sucked because I was hoping to get out there for the Whitaker Cannonier fight, but we were still waiting and talking to Volkov when that played out, and then uploading it. But the timing worked out perfectly. We got to go out there for Habib and Justin's walkout, and yeah, it was. It's very interesting because if you've never been at a fight night with that few people for a big show, like, I'm not talking like a gym, local gym having a fight night and it's just friends and family. You're talking about a real big one. It can feel like the Hunger Games, like you're watching. You got Candace Everdeen and all these rich people out there ready to watch violence, right? That's what it felt like. So small, it was intimate, and it's crazy because you're aware that this is a 30, 50,000 type of fight. Like they could pack a crowd in Vegas or something. So the fact that it was intimate was very crazy. The fight looked a lot closer in person than it did on, I've seen it on TV. I thought Justin was probably a little ahead in the first round, and yeah, it just looked like he was making Khabib work a little harder than normal. But then you see him get on the ground, and you are aware that you're watching the man. Like, you talk about, his top control and his submission game from his back. I mean, we know
Yeah.
what he can do off the top, but to see him and you're just watching him do this to Justin Gaethje off of his back is like, wow. And like I said, it just kind of happens quietly. He gets him, and there's not that big pop, which
Right.
normally you'd get. So that's a whole unique experience. But you could still feel the energy. You could still feel people kind of like, like,
Crazy. So okay, on that note, do you miss the crowds, or are you okay without crowds?
I miss the crowd. But I'll say this selfishly, it's because I enjoy it because it makes me feel more special. I mean, when everybody's like,
Yeah.
when you're there waiting to go backstage and you're going to talk to everybody, it kind of adds to the feel when you see the thousands of people outside Staples Center, in the T-Mobile in Vegas and stuff like that. And that to me is like, hey, it's like the ultimate fan experience. Like, if you tell any fan, hey, after all the fights, you're going to be able to ask the winner some questions, you would flip. That's one of the best experiences. And it's not like I pay to be there. I get paid to do that. So as much as it's a job and I got to be part of this and that, and there are rules we follow and all this other stuff, that having the crowd to me kind of puts me in check, because it's like, hey, this is why this is a cool job at the end of the day. Yes, I'm working, but this is fun. And that kind of just lends itself to that. So I miss the crowd. I also, as you've probably been there, like, I remember as a fan wanting to be there, and how much fun I have just like, before I was doing this. Now it's hard to imagine it, but it's like, I'm aware of how much fun it is to go with your friends and go watch UFC because you love it. It sucks that that's being deprived of people. The same way everything, concerts and other sports and other conventions and stuff, it sucks. So I do miss it because I'm aware of how much of an experience it becomes when you have that many people.
Gotcha. No, I think the one thing because I keep messing around, I keep telling people like I couldn't stand the crowd, so I don't care. But it's only because anytime if I hit the ground, there's always that one guy. I stand him up. I'm like, dude, let the guy at least finish his takedown before you start yapping. The hell?
Or the Ric Flair woo. I don't miss that.
I don't either. So here's a good question from Kyrie. Was talking about the NDA. So are there any non-disclosure agreements that you may sign? Are you allowed to video or have stills that you capture however you see fit, as long as it isn't the outcome of pay-per-view fights?
Good question. So you know what? No, not an NDA. Really, if you are, so the one thing they do say is that videotaping and cage-side photography is prohibited. They have UFC has deals even like for the photographers. So that's why Esther Lin for a long time, her job is so special. It's pretty much just her and the Getty Images guy, who's a Zuffa photographer they find to do all the official cage-side close-up UFC photos. So that's one thing, is that they tell you right off the bat that getting up close to do pictures of the fights is prohibited. And then obviously you're not able to record the fights anyway, because this is a pay-per-view. You're not going to post that. So, outside of that, anything else that you see going on, whether it be backstage, around Fight Island and all that, obviously there's, etiquette. Like if somebody's just kind of chilling, having a sandwich, even if it's Khabib, what's it like if you're just there, like,
right?
But besides that, no, there's nothing that says, hey, if you see that they use so and so brand soap on Fight Island, you can't take a picture of that. No, there's nothing.
Right.
There's nothing like that. There's nothing about that, and they're aware of that. Our job is to create content that gets views, that brings in an audience for the event. So we do get a lot of freedom in that way, but etiquette is probably the biggest thing. And if you got to ask, it's not right.
Right. And that's just kind of a common sense type of thing too. So yeah, that's good. That's good, dude. All right. So fights are over. You go back to after you're done uploading, because it was like you said, usually you spend a long time after an event just uploading stuff. But and honestly, we're here. So you're there at what time do the fights end for Abu Dhabi time?
Man, I want to say all said and done or closer to 1, 2 a.m.
Hmm.
Might have been, I want to say 2 because I feel like I remember I got back to the hotel about 4 a.m. local
Yeah.
time. So,
Yeah.
and once again, like you're able to walk there. Like we walked back from the venue and it only took about 15, 20 minutes. So it's like, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I will say this. So it ends quick, and once again, my guy Muhammad, the real MVP. Like my stuff went up fast. So
Yeah.
usually you're sitting there, just kind of. Now your adrenaline's coming down, and you're watching the status bar, so everything stays fine. Because this is
Right.
the whole point, right? This is why
Right.
they send you. But at that point, you're just like, all right, Dana White post-fight press conference you
Yeah.
know like there's nothing else to do. Like the
Right.
fights are done, there's nothing else to really I'm not doing post-fight lives like some of the other people. So you're just kind of there, kind of trying to keep your attention now for the 11th hour. But no, everything's pretty quick. We got back, relatively speaking, everything, like I said, it was very fast. The one inside thing is that, if you've ever done them, or if you're watching, for example, someone, I know they do at the press conference and they live stream it, right? The MMA
Hmm.
fightings, MMA junkies. Usually after a big fight, it feels like it takes like 45 minutes to an hour before we see Dana or
Hmm.
anyone like that, the main event, because they're doing all their in-house interviews with ESPN, or they're doing all the talking that you do after a big fight. You're talking to your champion, you're talking to who you need to backstage before you're even talking about, oh, we need to go talk to the reporters, blah blah blah. So I remember distinctly, Habib gets done with his speech in the cage. We're kind of just standing around maybe a minute, and then it's like, all right, let's head back.
Hmm.
Went to the bathroom, and so this is less than like 15 minutes from the time Habib's done talking. I come back, do my business. Must have been less than 2 minutes later, so less than 15 minutes from the end of the fight. Dana White is out there for the post-fight press
Hmm.
conference. That never
Never
ever
happened.
would happen. That I don't think that even happened just Saturday when we were there for Silva and Hall.
Hmm.
It's still at least like 20, 30, and it's like, dude, like, and you could kind of get that feeling. It's like last week Dana was already done by now, So I'll admit that kind of threw everybody off guard. Obviously, he was very, very quick, very curt
Hmm.
with that one. He didn't for a big pay-per-view, for all that happened, you would think he would talk longer. Nah, things moved along very quickly. They tell us we're not talking to Habib or Justin, so
Hmm.
all of that, and then there's Habib's surprise retirement. It's the fact that we all travel for the Fight Island thing. All of that was very jarring, and we were all. I'll say this, for me, I was kind of like, "That's it." Like usually we got to do a little more after something like this. We're gonna
Yeah.
get something. So the fact that it was all over very quick, relatively speaking, that threw a lot off personally.
That makes sense. Yeah. And you guys got Dana White for a little bit. And you got Robert Whitaker for a little bit, and then that
Yep.
was it. Everybody else just
Yeah.
bailed.
And it's not, I mean, if you saw Rob, it's not like he was waxing poetically up there.
Yeah.
Everything was very quick, and so it was like, all right, is your stuff up? My stuff up? Okay,
Time to
let's
go.
go. Good night.
There you go. So.
And so I will say that,
Hmm.
compared to a lot of the events I've worked, it was almost, obviously the fight itself was great, but post fight it almost felt anticlimactic that
Hmm.
that's all the talking we did after such a crazy historic fight, right?
Yeah, no, and that was the thing about the story part of it. When he retired, now I'm a big
Hmm.
fan of watching when a fighter is rumored, and he's, especially a guy like Khabib who coming off. Obviously, we didn't find out about his broken foot till later, but
Hmm.
or toe, whatever it was. We didn't find out about that later. But when he's taking off his gloves and he's telling, I forgot his training partners were there to take off his gloves and all that. And he starts taking them off. You got to see that live. Did you think he was about to retire?
No, never. I was like everybody else. He's
Mm-hmm.
taking off the gloves because you want to feel
Your hands, yeah,
everyone does it. Like watch a fight night. Honestly, so many people do it
yeah,
without retiring. So
yeah, yeah.
no, not at all. There was a bit of that. Like we look at each other like, really, that
Whoa,
just happened?
yeah.
Because we were 30-0 GSP. Dana White has a big surprise, so of course there was that, it shocked us for
Mhm.
sure, but when it was all said and done, it's like, well, okay, like, suddenly it's like, well, Conor Poirier, is that the next lightweight champion? And
There you go.
and maybe if you're a fan and you're not trying to do write-ups and get ready for questions for Dana, maybe it would
Mhm.
have hurt, or not hurt, but you would have probably
Felt it.
marinated with
Yeah.
it longer.
Oh,
But
okay. Yeah.
instead, we're immediately like, well, is Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler? So I will say this is that although it was unexpected, I feel like everybody collectively, we moved on from it pretty quick. We already knew what we had to ask Dana and Habib when they get out here, which
Right.
they only
Right.
asked one.
Right. Right. Hope you didn't get out there. All right. So fight ends. You upload your stuff. You get back to your room. Did you fly out the next day? You flew back home.
So what's crazy is that, however, I will say this: they had flights going out all day. So
Oh, okay.
people heading to one corner of the world left earlier. The people heading back to London flew out earlier. Our flight was not scheduled until 10 p.m. the next night.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
we pretty much had, 15, 16 more hours on the island. But they let you know that stuff has changed. So we can't get out to the other hotels, can't go out to the beach anymore, stuff like that. So you're just kind of chilling in your hotel. So I get back, I maybe go to sleep about 6. I get a
Mhm.
couple hours in, and then my plan was, okay, I'm not going to try to sleep. I'm going to just stay up and try to have like a regular day, for, relatively speaking. That way, when I get to the plane and by the time it all hits me, I crash.
Mhm.
That didn't end up happening. So, yeah,
Damn.
do you have anything else to ask about the island before I get to the trip back? Because that was the hardest one.
No, that's it. Yeah. What was it? What was the trip back like?
So the shuttle takes us from our hotel to the airport. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it has to pick up other people and stuff on the way. So we leave at 5:45. We get to the airport about 7. Our flight doesn't leave until about 10ish, maybe a little
Mhm.
after 10. So automatically, there's 4 hours there. And I will say this, we got the Etihad lounge, and they give us dinner and all this other stuff. They're treating us nice. I'll
Mhm.
give it that. And then there's the flight, and what you got to understand is going there, we were the last wave, right? Going back, every American who's been there, who's
Oh.
flying back to Vegas, is now on the flight. So yes, like all the people who went with us the first time, but now the Megan O'Leary's, John Annick's, Daniel Cormier's, and other staff who have been there are now on our flight. So before, like I said, rows and seats to
Mhm.
ourselves. I am in the very, very back. They
Oh.
seat me next to Jose Young's MMA fighting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
look, I don't got a problem with him, but I don't like anybody enough to sit next to them, literally seat to seat, like a school bus for
Right.
16 hours
So crazy.
after all we've been through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and I'll say this: people were mad because I'll say this: I'm not a big guy, and neither is Jose. But you did have some bigger guys, just taller, more broad-shouldered, to put it nicely, and they're stuck like in the little like school seats next to each other,
Right.
and they were very vocal about, I need my own stuff, I need my own space. Who's there? Who's not? And I'll say this, Eddie, my lucky stars, the opposite corner, I'm aware that like I'd already made peace mentally, like this is
Mhm.
gonna suck, and it's gonna suck for 16 hours. Just get over it. I'm telling Jose, like, dude, just I'm not looking forward to it, but like, look, we're in this together. So it's like,
Mhm.
bro, you gotta wake me up. Just do it. Like,
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
bed, whatever. Just
Just
do it,
do it.
right? I've already come to terms with the fact that this is probably gonna suck. Just make it as painless
Yeah.
as you can, and just bite the bullet. I see the back corner open. No one's taking it. I see everyone's kind of already adjusted there in their places. I tell my attendant, mind you, we're probably minutes away from takeoff, so I'm not trying to cause a scene after
Right.
all this, right? But I tell her, I'm gonna be taking those seats over there, just FYI. My attendant looks at me. Yeah, 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 that's fine. So I have the verbal and the confirmation.
Right.
We're good. Flight takes off. Da da da. Okay, the light turns off. Seatbelt could come off. Boom, right over there. I got 2 seats to myself. I'm in a pretzel all night, but the fact is, I got it. It's a lot better than being sat up. Anyway, there is one more person who I guess was told these seats were open.
Ooh.
And so they asked me, is this your original seat? And blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, it's not. But I spoke with my attendant here, ma'am, and she said, I'm good. And I'll just say this. I kind of left myself I was kind of reclined. I was taking up the 2 seats. And I just kind of gave body language that said, I'm not moving. Like, no, I'm going to be nice to you, but yeah, let me give you body language that says this is not going to happen.
Right.
You know, so, but thankfully they sorted it out, and the attendant did say, oh yeah, already. So as soon as I had another attendant who's in the section say, yes, he's there, it was all good. So yeah, I got, the day was saved, and, you know, like I said, 2 seats, I'm in the very back still. It's not comfortable. I didn't lay down. I didn't sleep well. It hurt. Like, you know, a few days, my back is still like, I turn a certain way, it's still tight. And, you know, 16 hours. By the time baggage claim, because, you know, everyone and their mom had a ton of baggage, like we all do, right? But hour and a half, getting to the place I was staying, probably another hour. I get back. We land about 3:30. I get to the place I'm staying probably about 6 a.m. So you add those hours, add that to the 16-hour flight, and you're talking close to 24 hours straight from leaving the hotel to hitting the bed. Yeah, it was quite the ride.
And then you had to fly or drive back to Cali?
I stayed in Vegas because I was there for Civil Hall.
Oh, so you there a whole week. All right. Hey.
Yeah, which was you know, so Monday I just spent like, I'll be honest, I didn't go right to sleep. I just couldn't. So I stay up probably 3 or 4 hours when I get there, get my stuff, just kind of chill. And then I just kind of napped. Like, every time my body felt it, I just go to sleep. And, you know, probably about closer actually to Friday was when I felt like, okay, I'm kind of back on time. I'll say this, getting on time over there was 10 times easier than getting on the clock when I got home for whatever reason.
Gotcha.
And then, of course, to add insult to injury, that daylight savings happens, and then I got to do a little adjustment, which was just like, you know, it's not right. So on a personal level, that happened. So
nah, for sure, man. All right, so since I forgot you were actually at this last weekend, you get to see kind of, sort of, we don't know about Silva yet, and actually we don't know about Habib either. You kind of sort of got to see 2 retirement fights. With Silva and Hall. What was that like? Especially after, because I think Anderson came out and talked to the media, right?
No, he did not.
He didn't? Okay, so
I'll be honest, like you didn't get to talk to the guys that were most important, which was kind of a, you know, like I said, it's like, come on, like that would have been special. But you know what? Anderson is my all-time favorite. Like, let me see if you'll. Yeah, I mean, I got the Silva Weidman up there. You see it, and you can't see it, but like up here, there's the UFC 200 where he stepped up to fight DC at 2 days' notice. He's like, you know, before I was ever doing interviews and all that, he was the guy, and he was like, he's different, right? He is special, and you know, he's that guy. Like, if I'm not mesmerized watching him do his thing, or just like, wow, GSP, just being able to put it all together, I probably don't love this enough to say X amount of years later, this is what I want to do as a job. So to me, that was half the reason why, because it's like, well, aren't you in a hurry to get home? It's like, yeah, but I'm already in Vegas, and they'd already said this is it for Anderson Silva. So it's like, it's hard for me to like, well, you know, you're already there. If this is it, how can I not be there if it's literally right there for me? And you know, so I wasn't going to drive back and forth. I knew if I drove back to California, I would just be over it. And I would not be like, yeah, I'm about to do another 4-hour travel of any kind. So, yeah, it was tough because obviously, like everybody else, I think that, you know, when you know it's a great, you don't want to see him go out like that. But, you know, to say I was there, like, it was just anticlimactic. It was hard. I can't say it's like, oh well, it was a special night and it was this thing. It was just very. I kind of wish Anderson almost didn't take it because it was hard to watch, you know. But
Right.
but that's the game, right? And if he's gonna go out one more time, I'm glad he got to speak to everybody and get the love like he deserved, and everyone acknowledge him for everything he did.
Gotcha. So you get
What
back home
about
and
you,
finally.
Ren?
What?
I mean, what do you think about it? You're just having me talk. Give me a break. What do you?
Oh, dude, I do a lot of talking. I do plenty of talking when I'm doing the other shows. Yeah, dude, I think with Anderson, first of all, Habib, that I related to him immediately because he's like, I told my mom I ain't gonna fight no more. I'm like, oh, like I mean, Mexican, Hispanic, whatever you want to call it. Like, your mama said something, your mama said something, and you promised your mom something, you promised it. That's it. That's word is bond at that point. So I kind of hope he sticks to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, just as I like to think, like, hey, that man said he's done. That man is done. So if he comes back, I'm gonna watch it. Of course, am I gonna disrespect him? Absolutely not. But I'm just like, ooh, I kind of hope he hangs on to that. Just to like almost like a legendary, like almost like a myth, except obviously real. But like, yeah, we had this guy Habib, and he went 28 no, 28 no.
Yeah, 29. He got 29
no. Right. Yeah, he got the 29 no. This happened, and he went away and it never looked back. Not the way GSP has and BJ Penn unfortunately has and all that. And as far as Anderson goes, like I was with you. I was like, oh, I kind of hope. I wish he hadn't taken this fight. I really do. I was not happy that he went out that way. Because I do, like he's in my top 5 fighters that I love to watch, right? But yeah, that was rough. And honestly, to me, that was rougher than when he got knocked out by Weidman, and it was rougher than when he broke his leg. Like
to me, nothing will ever. I was at the Weidman fight live. Nothing to me, yeah, the first one.
Oh, okay.
Nothing to me will ever beat watching that happen live when he broke it. That to me, like I still like. I remember feeling nauseous when I saw that. It's like my favorite. I'm not a media guy who's been to a million fights yet at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a fan, and I was rooting for Anderson to get it back and all that.
Yeah.
That one was always hard. That one,
Okay.
I'll say this: like outside of live, I've never watched it back again ever, and I probably never will. That one to me is just always. That one's almost traumatizing. With Habib, you know what? I'll say this: in the moment, if that was it, it made Fight Island more special, obviously, because it's like, wow. I mean, talking about a guy who may go down as the GOAT, and you were there, and we didn't know it was going to be the last one, so you're glad you went extra, right? But for my money, he's going to run it back one more time. GSP or Tony Ferguson, it depends on logistically what they do with the belt, but
right.
Yeah. To me, so I would love to tell you this, like, yes, and you felt this feeling, but my heart does not believe he's done yet. And I may be wrong, but I've been telling everybody this about that. It's like, on a personal level, his family's dealing with a very difficult time right now. But, you also kind of try to look into the future, and you think, well, maybe he's sitting there at the gym and he's coaching, and Islam Makhachev is killing it, and he's feeling excited, right? And,
right.
He's saying, I really want to fight again. And he talks to his family, and maybe they say to him, Habib, we're okay. We want this for you. I could see him coming back. I could see, and that's me watching maybe a lot of, dramas, and that sounds like a very This Is Us kind of,
right.
episode. But in all honesty, isn't that how it would happen? So to me, my heart doesn't think he's actually done. But if it is, I got all the cool stuff that says I was there.
That's great. Yeah, you got the press pass and all that stuff because because they give you the badge and everything.
You want to see my little stuff on it?
Sure.
All right, so I have one of these every time I cover a fight night abroad.
Oh,
so
dope. Yeah.
Little Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
Right, yeah, so it sits next to my one for Las Vegas right now. But yeah, so I got the cool stuff that says, yeah, I did it. So, once again.
Yeah. No, so you look back at it, like you said, you said earlier, it's like a dream. Like, how do you feel about it now? Like, dude, I was there. I was on Fight Island.
I'll say this is that for me personally, when I'm just around, it does still just feel like a dream. Like I look at the pictures, like I posted one today. I was just like trying to get my mind off all of the stuff going on, obviously. Yeah. And I was like, dude, like outside the hotel is really nice and all the views and the sunsets and all that nostalgic stuff, right?
Mhm.
And in that way, it's like it does still feel like a dream. Because it all feels it was a ride. It happened so
Right.
fast when you think about it. But one of the things I guess for myself is the amount of people that I've had reach out. Like there are people like not just yourself, which I appreciate fully, and you've been great, Eddie, and I appreciate that, man. Like it's not lost on me that you were the guy trying to let everybody know. It's like, Ed, do you not realize who's
Yeah.
there on Fight Island? Thank you, man. But people who know I cover UFC and I covered the big events, right? People kind of used to it, which
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
come on, this is still a big deal. But the amount of people who like after the fact were like, dude, what? Huh? Like
Mhm.
this isn't even just covering Connor in Vegas, which I'll be honest, people were more excited about me doing Fight Island than when they knew I was there for Connor in
Right.
January. So the amount of people who've come out and given me support and just who've come up with me and just who see me on the local events and they just want to say nice stuff, that has made it more special because that is when I can see the journey. And
Mhm.
so to say I got that on my resume, for considering how few events I haven't hit double digit UFC events that I've gone to live as a media member. So to me to have that and to just feel that's been the most special part of it as I'm home now. Yes, I got to be there and I got to prove a lot to myself about where I'm at in my career by being there,
Mhm.
but just to know that it meant something not just to me but to other people around me, that's where I feel that accomplishment, because it's like this has been a journey and people do realize that, and it kind of validates it inside myself, because I think sometimes having someone else tell you that, it kind of reaffirms the stuff that you're telling yourself. I
Yeah.
know I've been at this a long time. To have other people say that was like, no, you're not just blowing smoke up your own self.
Mhm.
This really was a big deal.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Like we were talking in the chats and all that, and I shoot it with the guys on the other Cageside guys on Twitter sometimes and everything, and I'm just like, man, we have a guy there. That's so crazy. Like I'm like I said, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, dude. Like we legit were just like, dude, one of our own is there. It's almost like we were there, dude, for real. I was just
Thank you.
like I was telling one of my co-hosts for Keyboard Warriors, I was just like, dude, we have a guy on the island. It's like, what? I'm like, we have a guy on the island. He's doing all the shit we all want to do. And he's like, he's there, dude. It was wild for us, but it was dope to see that. And of course, you
Thank
have,
you.
our support, everyone at Cageside Press support with you, Jay, myself, everybody, Danny.
Thank you.
So that was dope. That was honestly like we were super proud of you for real. Like we were proud as hell of you, dude. Just like, damn, our boy made it. Let's go. It was crazy. And honestly, I do see bigger things for you. Like the kind of part work
Thank
you put
you.
in, dude. Come on, man. You cannot. There's no denying that. For real. There's
Thank
no
you, man.
denying that. That and
Thank
the
you.
fact, and I had someone actually asked me on Twitter, well, a couple days ago when I told everybody you can be on, or yesterday, yeah. But they were just like, hey, ask him if he's gotten any numbers from the female fighters, because it's almost like a running joke ish on the chat and
Okay.
on the Slack chat. It's just like he got another one. What the hell? He got it. We're all waiting for you to get Valerie like back on and everything. Because I
Laredo.
think, yeah, Loretta. I think you spoke
What's
to her
it?
before.
Someone? No, I haven't.
No. Oh,
There's a funny story. Like that
yeah.
one almost happened in just I just didn't have my camera stuff, and
Oh, of
she was at an event and she was going to hang with Brian Ortega, and so it's like,
course.
yeah, I can't make it back there, and it's like, all right,
Oh,
and now she's all of it. You know what? Okay, so a funny thing about that, I get that a lot, and you know what? Here's the thing: is if you look at my accounts, I talk to a ton of guys.
yeah.
Nobody cares.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like ain't nobody like I talked to okay, like legit. I've talked to Adesanya, Masvidal twice, and they've been nice videos with fun stuff. And the most everyone wants to talk about, oh, you talked to that one girl, and that girl, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I talked to plenty of guys. Y'all just don't care.
Dude.
So when people ask about the other stuff, it's like, you know what? I send messages to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
They reply, and we have good interviews, and that's just kind of the thing, like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the one I know because Danny brought it up to pull back the curtain about Miranda Maverick.
Yeah.
over there. Ironically, Miranda was on our plane, and I was behind them in line at customs.
Oh.
So we're talking, and we're just getting, like, oh, whose team are you with? And she's, look, it's her UFC debut. I've been busy. I haven't kept up with every Invicta. And, it's like, oh, which team are you with? And, it's like, oh, it's like my team. Like, I'm Miranda Maverick. I'm fighting. And it's like, oh, my gosh. And,
my bad.
mind you, she's also wearing a mask.
Right.
And, it's not like it's, Gina Carano walking through Ronda Rousey, respectfully. And, like, that's like, hey, would love to talk to you. Yeah, of course. We get out of quarantine. Hey, can you do the interview? Yeah. And, but, there we are. And so that's how that stuff happens. And I get that a lot, not just from Cageside. I have other people. It's like, well, you talk about them, then I'm like I reach out to probably just about as many people. It's just, I think you guys just remember those, which I get it. I got eyes too.
Yeah, there you go. My favorite is, I think KGB put her hat on you, didn't she?
Yes.
Yeah, that was my favorite one.
I like that. Ironically, that's one of my most popular ones, and I'll have people occasionally be like, because I've interviewed her since then, and it's like, you couldn't do the hat thing. And we talk about it. When I talk about her, that's our thing. So she remembers.
Yeah. So again, ladies and gentlemen, this dude is one of the hardest working men you've never heard of, but you will, because he's gonna get there. Anything else you want to throw out here before we get out of here, other than obviously Lakers winning?
You know what? Yeah. Like, look, here's the thing. It's like we went through some dark times there. I mean, when you talk about it's like the heights and just to be at the bottom. So. And I'll say this now, like LeBron is probably my favorite player. Not that Kobe's great, but just like when I really got bit by the bug and was into it, LeBron's the guy. But you know what? Thank you. I mean, I think the big thing is like I am trying to get there, and I am trying to have UFC. Like, hey, Megan O'Leary, Laura Sanko, Heidi Androl, they got a crew. Everything is about getting to the point where they say, hey, we're gonna make room for one more. And that's really it for me at the end of the day. And when you talk about, for Cageside Press, the way I see it is, look, and I'm sure you remember, not everybody has always been, down for the team and everything. And so for me, the way I see it is like, look, you could have potentially cost my opportunity down the line because now suddenly our site may have a reputation. So for me, the way I see it is like, look, I am trying to get there. I am doing a lot of this for me. Yeah. But I'm also aware that like, hey, look, I've been on the other side, that I would not want somebody hurting my chances to get my own credentials later, something like that, whether it's somebody else, because I can't do all of them, in the same way. It's like, hey, look, no offense, but we are all trying to do something. Don't ever, however you feel about whatever, don't try to hurt someone else trying to do it. So to have that from you guys, that you feel that way about me doing it, I don't take it for granted. I appreciate it, because, the same way if it were someone else, it's like, look, I want us to be good, because if it were me trying to get somewhere, I'm hoping our site has a good rep. So just hear you say I've done that for us. I appreciate that. I'm not lost on it, and I take it with me. Thank you, man. And at Double G on TV, everywhere I post for other stuff, whether it be Cageside or other places. Yep, you got it. Exactly. That's where I'll post links to everything. Twitter and Instagram, same handle. So that's the quickest way to see everything I do.
There you go. Like I said the other day, it blows my mind that you only have 500 some followers. We got to get this man up. All right, follow on everything.
Yes.
All right. So hey man, appreciate you coming on, dude. Shout out to everyone that tuned in tonight. I know Kairos was hanging out with the question. Drew, Jesse was here for a bit. So all right, guys. Well, you still got time to watch the end of the world, so I guess we'll see what happens.
Hey, I was hoping it's like, I'll get out there and I'll find out, but we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
It'll be fine. Everybody, calm down. We do this every 4 years, and we always treat it the same way. So. Yeah. All right, guys. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week, ladies and gentlemen. We'll catch you tomorrow night for Keep Up Warriors Live. Myself, Fred Kirby, and we'll talk about this next weekend's card and Instant Silver. All right. Good night, people, and good night, Wilshire.